Dangerous, very dangerous, because if Anthony Joshua hits him on the chin, he will put him to sleep.
Utter madness that he would run the risk of absolutely jeopardizing his life, because he's not a big heavyweight. He's a small heavyweight. He's 5 inches smaller than Joshua.
It's a real fight. It should be over in 90 seconds because Anthony Joshua is a legit gold medalist, big, super heavyweight, crazy athlete, awesome power, and Jake Paul just isn't on that level in any way. And he's not and he's undersized.
Boxing pros warn that Jake Paul is stepping into extremely dangerous territory by facing Anthony Joshua. They argue that Joshua's knockout power is on a completely different level and that Jake has never experienced anything close to it. Many experts believe the matchup pushes safety limits and could end badly if Joshua lands clean. Gareth Davies also cautions that it is improper to let them have a full-on fight due to the circumstances and massive weight difference.
There is a danger in this fight. The odds are Joshua's 1-12. Obviously, Jake Paul is 6-1. Yeah, to win this fight in a 2-horse race in which this is a guy who lost to Tyson Fury's brother, in an 8-round fight, who, for me, I wrote that it would damage his legacy a week ago. It will damage his legacy for several reasons. If the Deontay Wilder fight never emerges, which it looks like it isn't, I've been calling for that fight for ages. If those two got in a ring together, it's still a massive fight. It's a dangerous fight to sanction, in my view. It sets the wrong precedent. It is 10-ounce gloves. It is a boxing match. It's not an exhibition. This isn't a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. This is one of the most dangerous finishers in the world, who is probably 5 levels above Jake Paul and a weight division above him. I think it's irresponsible to let those two in a ring together in a proper boxing match. That's my view. It doesn't damage his bank balance, but if he earns
Barry McGuigan's explosive criticism captures the fear many seasoned boxers feel when they imagine Jake Paul standing across the ring from Anthony Joshua. McGuigan spent decades around heavy hitters and understands how power changes everything once the first punch lands. He argues that Jake is stepping into something far beyond entertainment, far beyond influence or boxing, and far beyond the level where athletic confidence can save someone. Joshua's knockout power is not theoretical. It is proven against men much bigger, stronger, and more experienced than Jake. McGuigan highlights that Jake is still essentially a light heavyweight and has never fought anyone whose natural weight, reach, and punch damage compare remotely to Joshua.
Freak show. Some people are saying, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that, because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. So, yep. And some people are suggesting he might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing, unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him, or he's not going to go flat out. But I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how, and under God, when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is several divisions below him, that's more like what Jake Paul does, and then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong, and then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy; he could knock anybody out if he hits them properly. But it just seems utter madness And
From his perspective, Jake is not walking into a competitive match, but into a collision with a fighter built to demolish top-tier heavyweights. The size gap is only part of the risk. The level of punching intelligence, timing, and destructive force Joshua delivers through short shots, uppercuts, and counters is something Jake has never even trained against. McQuiggan's frustration comes from watching people downplay the danger, as if the ring suddenly becomes safe because Jake has social media confidence or previous wins. For him, this matchup is less about hype and more about human vulnerability against a true heavyweight force.
agreement of some kind where he says, I won't go hard on him, or I'll go easy, or I'll spar with him for 8 rounds, because it's just so ridiculous. I mean, if Joshua hits him properly, he'll knock him unconscious. And if he knocks him unconscious and he gets a bleed in his brain and he ends up with a subdural hematoma and goes to hospital and is in dire straits, where does that leave boxing? That puts us in a very, very awkward spot. So it's hard not to believe that they've got some sort of caveat, some sort of agreement whereby, I mean, most heavyweights box with 10-ounce gloves, or sometimes.
Dave Allen's perspective focuses less on hype and more on historical patterns from Jake Paul's previous fights. He notes that Jake has built his boxing record through matchups where both sides walked away financially satisfied and physically safe. The environment was controlled, the matchmaking was strategic, and the danger level was carefully moderated. But Allen believes this scenario is entirely different because Anthony Joshua is not a celebrity boxer, nor a retired athlete, nor a cruiserweight playing along for a paycheck. Joshua is an active heavyweight with a championship pedigree, knockout victories over elite opponents, and a history of finishing fights with brutal efficiency. Allen warns that if Joshua chooses to fight Jake with even half the intensity he uses against professional rivals, the result will not resemble Jake's previous controlled bouts. The danger here is not just a knockout. It is the potential impact of heavyweight force on a fighter whose body has never absorbed anything close to that magnitude. Allen also points out that even sparring with heavyweights does not prepare someone for the real fight environment where punches come without warning, without pulling back, and with full commitment. For Jake, stepping in with Joshua is stepping into real heavyweight warfare, not a promotion-friendly crossover event.
But he couldn't beat Tommy. Could he win the area lightweight title? I'm not sure. Don't know who the champion is. If I had a look, I could tell you, but I'm not sure. He then boxes Nate Diaz. So he's boxed 1 boxer so far, if we're keeping count, and he's beat none. Then he boxes Andre August, who I believe was a pro, and this is now at 14-3, so he's now actually a cruiserweight. Andre August, I'm not sure. Ryan Borland, 17-2. Again, I'm not sure. But fair play, he's beat 2 boxers here. Beat 2 boxers, what can I say? He then fights Mike Perry, who is an MMA fighter, bare knuckle boxer. He's not a glove boxer. He then fights Mike Tyson, which was an exhibition, weren't it really, for all intents and purposes. Now the big jump here is in 4 months, he's put on 2 stone. So he's put on 2 stone in 4 months. He then boxed Julio Cesar Chavez, and he's now lost 2 stone. He's back down at 14-3, and he beat Chavez, who is a boxer, but has been shot to bits for the last 10 years. So, as far as Jake Paul goes, I don't mind Jake Paul. I don't really know what he does or what he is and what he's achieved in boxing. I would say fair play. I'd say, you know what, mate? Why not? I don't blame him. And the money he's made, amazing, buzzing. If people want to watch him box, great. So he started off boxing, I think a YouTuber or 2, basketball player maybe, was he? Some MMA fighters, and he weren't Ngannou, weren't Cyril Gane, weren't Big Madu can box. He was boxing welterweights, middleweights, max, way past the best. But that's also fine because it's an entertainment game and it's okay. That's fine. loses to Tommy, fights a few pro boxers, then fights Mike Tyson, which was a professional contest, but for all intents and purposes, a bit of an exhibition, because to be fair to Jake Paul, he could have flattened Mike Tyson at any time. People say Mike Tyson held him up, he held back. If anyone was holding back, it was Jake.
Some analysts argue that the danger is not limited to Jake. Anthony Joshua also carries a significant risk entering this matchup. They stress that if Joshua wins but does not dominate flawlessly, the victory may be interpreted as a stain rather than an achievement. For a fighter of his status, reputation is shaped by how decisively he beats opponents, not simply that he wins. If Jake lands even one clean punch, critics could weaponize it as evidence that Joshua is slipping or losing sharpness. They explain that if Joshua wins but does not dominate clearly, the victory may be interpreted as a negative rather than a positive. They add that if the fight becomes messy or unexpectedly competitive, Joshua could face embarrassment that cascades into public doubt, especially given the unpredictability of boxing. Even a lucky shot from Jake could create viral headlines that overshadow Joshua's entire career narrative. This is why some experts insist that this matchup paradoxically traps Joshua as much as Jake, forcing him into a high-stakes situation with minimal reward and tremendous image-based risk. The fight may look simple on paper, but reputational pressure makes it more dangerous than many fans realize.
Risk for Joshua is because even if Joshua wins this fight, it has to be perfect. There cannot be a moment of hesitation from Anthony Joshua. He can't look mentally shot. He can't take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his credibility. All the things that have ever been said about him, he's a hype job, he's been coddled. He didn't really want to fight Deontay Wilder when they were both in their prime. He's just a big bodybuilder, as Tyson Fury loves to put it. Anyone who's ever doubted him will have absolute ability to do so. And so the fact that this is actually a sanctioned fight, it tells me that Anthony Joshua cannot be going in there or will not go in there and try to carry Jake Paul. Otherwise, it might as well just be an exhibition. If he does go in there and carry Jake Paul, my fear for him is that most people will not be aware that that's what he's doing. Reputationally, it would just cause serious damage. And like I say, I think the only way he comes out of this unscathed, reputationally, is by going in there and securing a clean knockout. Anthony Joshua can't do anything to boost how people view him as a boxer in this fight. All it can do is damage him unless he's punch perfect. He's fighting someone who realistically has nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. And that in itself can be dangerous. It can be risky. And given that Jake Paul has achieved so little, given that Anthony Joshua wants to remain relevant and credible, so it seems, because he has a couple of potentially big fights left, especially against Tyson Fury, why is he doing this? He doesn't want to jeopardize that, surely. Well, I can tell you exactly how I think he has rationalized this in his mind. The first thing is that he's going to get paid an absolute shed load of money. Around 50 million is what we're hearing. I've heard 50 million pounds, 50 million USD, but whatever happens, it's a significant amount of cash. Possibly will be one of his highest ever career paydays, possibly similar to what he'd make for a Tyson Fury fight. But for what? Like 1% of the risk? I don't know. I don't know how to put it in numerical.
Chris Algieri's viewpoint anchors itself in the performance patterns Joshua has displayed throughout his career. He explains that Joshua has consistently delivered exactly what was expected based on his opponent's skill level and tactical threat. When fans predicted early destruction, Joshua often delivered early destruction. When they expected measured control, he produced controlled technical victories. Algier argues that this track record is why so many believe Joshua could finish Jake Paul in 90 seconds if he chooses to press the action immediately. From this perspective, if such an outcome does not occur, the credibility of the event will be questioned.
His reputation as an elite heavyweight. Do you understand the analogy I'm getting to, Chris?
Yeah, and I agree. And but listen, Joshua's done this already. He fought a guy that he was supposed to destroy,
right?
And then he went out there and he destroyed him. And he didn't play with his food. Yep. He didn't say, okay, it was Ngannou I'm talking about, obviously.
Of course.
Who gave Tyson Fury fits and really had everyone questioning Tyson Fury's ability because he struggled with an MMA fighter in his pro boxing debut. Anthony Joshua didn't do that. He went out there and did what we all expected Tyson Fury to do, and completely wiped the floor with the guy. And if Joshua doesn't do that this fight, I agree with you, Jimmy. It's going to hurt his stock. It's going to hurt the way that people perceive him moving forward. And also, I think, honestly, and if he doesn't go out there and just lay into Jake Paul and end it in the first, if not second round, to me, it's gonna look fishy to me. It's gonna look like this was a setup, this was an exhibition, this wasn't a real fight. If this is a real fight, it should be over in 90 seconds because Anthony Joshua is a legit gold medalist, super heavyweight, crazy athlete, awesome power, and Jake Paul just isn't on that level in any way. And he's not in any.
He warns that anything short of a dominant first-round finish will lead many to suspect that something behind the scenes influenced the pacing or intensity. This belief comes from understanding how massive the skill gap is between a lifelong heavyweight champion and someone who has only a handful of professional fights. Algieri emphasizes that Joshua's punching mechanics, ring generalship, and ability to create openings rapidly make him a nightmare matchup for anyone below heavyweight. Therefore, if the fight stretches beyond expectations, critics may argue the bout is orchestrated or softened, placing enormous scrutiny on Joshua's choices and performance.
Jake Paul saying that we're running away from him. We're not, mate. We're not running from you. You know, we offered to box you right next door to you, Canada. Canada. Anywhere in Canada, because we can't get to America, and you knew we couldn't get there. Offering 15 million. Stand on to your offer. For 15 million, we'll box you anywhere in the world. But I know it ain't going to happen because you're not a stand-on man, are you? Because we've had this way before. Did we not bet you $3 million on national TV in front of the world's media? And what did you do? You welched. You didn't pay. You give us a middle finger. Like your other mate, KSI, he bet me £200,000 in front of the world's media. He never paid. So really, Jake, we can't take your word for nothing, can we? Because what you do, you tread where the grass is low, my old pal, saying that you may have offered $15 million, but you knew full well we can't get into the United States of America. And we did offer to box you next door in Canada. Phone went quiet by you and your manager. But listen, mate, what you say I take with a pinch of salt, my friend, because I told you, put it all in writing, send it to our lawyer. Within 10 weeks, we can be there in the ring with you, anywhere in the world except America. But like I say, you say things you don't stand on, do you? 3 million quid? You know, we said, okay, we'll bet. Deal done. Shook hands with me in front of the world's media. You didn't pay, mate. So you offering this and offering that don't mean squat diddly, does it? You or your other mate. In my word, mate, I tell you the truth, mate. Back in the old days, my pal, you'd be called odd pig to a devil, a Welsher, not a man. Can't take your word for no, which you can't anyway. But that's all I'm going to say on it. You want to fight, put your $15 million in writing to our legal team. You can be in the ring with 8 weeks anywhere in the world. That's all I'm going to say to you, mate, except America. You got that loud and clear? But it has to be in writing from people.
The biggest layer of seriousness comes from the fact that this fight will be a professional contest recorded permanently on the resumes of both fighters. This is not an exhibition, not a sparring showcase, and not a scripted crossover appearance. For Joshua, a professional heavyweight champion, losing to Jake Paul would be viewed as one of the biggest upsets in modern boxing history, overshadowing everything he has built. Even a moment of vulnerability could spark endless debate about whether he is declining. For Jake, the fight carries the pressure of legitimacy as he attempts to transition from celebrity boxing to true professional status. But the weight of the event lands far heavier on Joshua because he cannot afford to risk in a match critics believe he should dominate.
This is going on people's records. AJ got to take him serious because this isn't some exhibition. We're running out some judges to act like there's a decision and someone won. No, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose here. It's 8 rounds, 3-minute rounds. Again, heavyweight, pro bout, 10-ounce gloves. AJ talking about breaking internets over faces. I think he meant to say breaking his face on the internet. Who knows? Maybe you can do both in the big 2025. But then you have the weight limit, 245 pounds. And people are automatically going to go, oh, God, here's the thing. Oh, here's the thing in the contract. No, stop all that. And I'm going to go on a rant in a second for all the people that thought this was fake, for all the people that thought that Jake wouldn't do this, for all the people that thought he was scared. I'm going to go on that rant in a second. But, okay, yes, 245 is a weird number because Jake has already fought at heavyweight. He fought Mike Tyson at 220-something. But, again, I understand it a little bit. We're on short notice here. You don't want to have a Tyson Fury-type situation, which AJ would never.
Analysts argue that the permanence of the result magnifies every second of the bout, turning it from entertainment into a career-defining gamble. Because the fight is officially sanctioned, both fighters must approach it with full seriousness, making the stakes higher than any influencer matchup before this. With reputations, records, and long-term legacies on the line, this bout transforms from a crossover attraction into a high-pressure professional commitment for both men.
Have changed since this time period. But this was in 2017. AJ was the heavyweight world champion. Jake was on red carpets for Bizarre Barks on the Disney Channel, looking like every fuckboy that came out of the Vine era. This shouldn't be the reality that we're living in. Now, I've sat here and I've asked myself over and over and over, what's the upside for Jake here? What's the upside? Because he can make money with everybody, right? Jake can make money fighting Gervonta Davis. He can make money fighting freaking Ryan Borland and Andre Agassi. He can make money fighting Mike Tyson and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And I'm just asking myself, stop asking me 267 million. Okay, yeah. If that's a real number, there's no context there. I don't know if that's referring to something else, but if Jake is getting paid 260.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next.